Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Wild Yoga Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Lily Allen Duenas. Together, we'll talk about the world of yoga and we'll talk to people from around the world. Join us for authentic conversations about the global yoga ecosystem, and we'll cover yoga philosophies and methodologies along the way. Inhale, exhale. We're about to dive in. Namaste, family, and welcome back to the Wild Yoga Tribe. I am so excited to have Mr. Iceland on the show today. His name is Hörður Bender, and he is from Iceland. He's a 52-year-old life researcher who believes that when you do what you love, you never have to work. He's an entrepreneur, a horse whisperer, a garlic farmer, and a yoga teacher. In recent years, he has taken people up into the mountains to meditate and on yoga and horse riding retreats on his farm, Efri-Úlfsstaðir. Of course, I'll let Hordur explain that meaning of his farm's name and also do the pronunciation a million times better than I will. So Hordur believes that our brain is like a young stallion that needs to be tamed and that the Icelandic horse is the biggest teacher. So please join me in welcoming Hordur onto the show today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me. Wonderful to be here.
Oh, amazing. I would love to just start off by asking how you first got started on the path of yoga.
Well, my background is really business. I studied business in Germany. Actually, I took my bachelor degrees in the States, and then I took a master's in international business in Heidelberg, Germany. And my background is really business. About 25 years ago, I was working at that time in a financial institution. And was missing something, and tried out the yoga just in Stockholm. I was living in Stockholm. I tried my local yoga studio, and that's sort of that's how it all started, and been a devoted practitioner ever since. Really, what I have sort of experienced through all these yoga courses is my biggest teacher, and sort of my path has gone towards nature and the Icelandic sort of this young nature we have in Iceland, and then towards the Icelandic horse, really.
So you say that the power of yoga multiplies when it's paired with horse riding and with natural beauty. How do you find that to be true?
In my experience with the horses, I mean, they really are sort of a true sort of force of nature here in Iceland. I mean, they've been with us here for 1,000 years, as long as we have been here. And basically, they are so sensitive, so alert to its environment. They practice full consciousness. I mean, they are just, or mindfulness. They are always present, and just by sort of, being close to them, reading into them, sensing their breath, their energy is sort of, that's what sort of makes a real nature, sort of connection to nature. And that's sort of what I've been trying to practice in my class, is to sort of get people to kind of understand, to sort of to come to the same level as the horse, and it sort of forces you into a complete mindfulness.
Amazing. I love hearing about that. How do you practice yoga or mindfulness with the horses? I know you lead a lot of retreats that are yoga and horse riding related. So how do you think you marry the two things together?
Just if I sort of take you back a little bit, because what I was doing earlier, when I started sort of full-time yoga as a yoga professional and a horseback riding teacher, I was doing two completely different things. One in the morning, I was hiking up in the mountains and teaching and do it. I had a concept called mountaintop yoga. So I take a group of people into the mountains here in Iceland. We would hike up a mountain and then do yoga / grounding. Then in the afternoon, I would normally have riding courses. And a lot of the time, it was the same people. So they would join me for the yoga in the morning, and then we would go ride some horses in the afternoon. And did this for about 2 or 3 years. And then I had some amazing people joining me. And we normally sort of stay at the farm here, and we have dinner together, and there's a lot of talking, and this kind of just developed, that merging these two things together, the yoga, the mindfulness, the grounding, and then the horse. That's how it all came about. What's sort of interesting about the Icelandic reitmanship versus maybe classical reitmanship like you have in Europe is that the reitmanship in Europe has a lot to do with control. So the ultimate goal there is to control the horse 100%. In Iceland, we are not there. We want to have maybe 78% control of the horse, and the rest we want to have wildness, this proudness in the horse that makes the horse special. And when people come to my farm, and some of them have never even touched the horse before, then what I try to do, and I spend a lot of time sort of initially, is just for people. We normally start with the breathing exercises. Then I do like a lecture, and I show people sort of how to go around the horse and explain the nature of the horse. But then it's all a question of sort of just getting into the box with the horse, patting him, and then it's just a question of sort of touching and just being with the horse and having him accepting you as his partner for the day. This might take 5 minutes, or this might take half an hour, depending on the people. But sometimes you have the perfect match between the human and the horse, but sometimes the relationship is not really working. So then I have to sort of switch horses but I'm getting quite good at it, is sort of matching the right person with depending on the energy from the person to the right horse, depending on its characteristic of the horse.
Beautiful. I imagine that, matching the energy of the person to the horse is an act of mindfulness as well, and presence and awareness.
Once you're there with the horse, and you start trusting him, and sort of you sense sort of his energy, then on an equal base to get on top of the horse and ride the horse, and sort of the experience becomes a completely different than sitting on a horse, having 100% control, going in a circle, and then you're back. I mean, you have a completely different relationship, and a lot of the people that are sort of been on my retreat, they're sending me emails and messages saying, oh, I miss my, Crystal or Gauri, or the horse's name. They miss him so much because they have developed this relationship with the horse that everybody can do, but it's something that you sort of, you have to work on it actively to establish this relationship and trust.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I've spent time with horses. When I was growing up, we had 2 horses at our house for a little while, and I took horseback riding lessons for, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years. And I always preferred to ride bareback in all of my classes and all of my time, because I just loved feeling that connection. And they're so intuitive. They're so instinctual. I really do feel like these, as you said, it's such a supreme example of consciousness.
Yeah, definitely. They are, and we see it, just in terms of, other forces like weather or other animals or earthquakes, like we have a lot of right now in Iceland. They are so sensitive towards this, and sort of just being in the group with the horses. We have about 60 horses at the farm. Is sort of, well, I can't read exactly sort of what's going to happen, but you can really say sort of, if there's bad weather coming, or if there are earthquakes, you can notice that there's something going on in the group.
So I'm sure that some of my listeners who maybe haven't had much time around horses, maybe haven't spent, any time around them, they might be a little like, yoga and horses, I still not getting it. How do you explain that connection to someone maybe who's never spent time around a horse?
And I come back to the force of nature. What I think, what my guests are sort of are most intrigued by, people that are not experienced with horses before, is sort of this power, this energy that the horses represent, and just to sort of go into a box where there's a horse and touching him, and sort of and feeling that you have some kind of a relationship with, sort of an active relationship with nature, that is being a horse person or not, I mean, that is a major experience.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it is a major experience. So, how do you define yoga then? What is your personal definition? It's something I ask almost all of my all my guests.
My biggest teacher is the horse, obviously, and what the horse teaches me is mindfulness. That is what yoga is first and foremost to me, and I'm reminded of it every day, every hour of the day. And that is something I sort of, what the horse has taught me is to have this continuous mindfulness during my day, not only when I'm with my horses, because the horses, they are in a continuous mindfulness. They are not, even, and you see this so easily, that even when, I've maybe ridden a horse for a long period the day before, and he's very tired or something, he's been out in the rain or whatever, the horse does not sort of hold a grudge against me. They're always sort of willing to accept me as I am again today, no matter what happened earlier this morning or yesterday or last year. They it's not that they don't remember, but they're always sort of, today is a new day, it's a new moment, and they're always sort of present. And that's what I try to tame myself. And that has been my biggest lesson, and that's my yoga, I guess.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. I think that mindfulness is at the core of yoga as well, that ability to be present and also to be just aware of our thoughts, aware of our habits, aware of our impact, and our energy levels. I think that there's so many layers to mindfulness.
Definitely, for sure. How should I say? I mean, for me, it makes it, I guess, somewhat easier to be mindfulness, to be in the present, being out in the countryside, where you don't have as much noise as you would maybe have to be living in the city or something. And it's funny sometimes. I sometimes spend time alone here at the farm, and I can go on for days. Especially in the wintertime, my kids are off to school, my wife is working, and might be at the farm maybe 1 or 2 weeks by myself. I haven't spoken a word. I just sort of been there with myself, with my thoughts, working with the garlic or what have you, being completely present. Even sometimes if I'm going maybe to the store, to the next town, to get some supplies or what have you, and I have to speak, and I'm almost startled by my own sound. I might not appreciate it as much as I should at the time, but as soon as I sort of get back into the noise, it's amazing.
I've never accidentally, I think, not talked for more than a day, just because usually I'll end up stubbing my toe and saying ouch, or end up just kind of I don't know, humming, singing, but I have done Vipassana retreats in which it's been, enforced silence for 10-day periods. And it is so sweet at the end of it to hear voices, to feel the connection. So I'd love to hear more about your farm. I know that it was established in 1876, so it must have been in the family for generations.
No, it has not been in my family. I actually bought. Well, the thing is this: I have two farms. I live most of the time on one farm, and then I have another farm, which is the Efri-Úlfsstaðir, and that is my where I keep the retreats, etc. So that's my working place. But we have another farm where we are doing the training of the horses, and then at Efri-Úlfsstaðir, which is a lot bigger farm, we are doing the garlic and the retreats. So the farm is always sort of, for my retreats, it's always a safe haven. There's nobody else there. It's a big sky area, no neighbors close by, so it's complete isolation there. So that was the thinking of the farm. Is sort of, and I can tell you the story. It's funny. Me and my wife, we got invited to our friends that are from this area, from the Efri-Úlfsstaðir area. And this was on Sunday, and we go riding there, and it's an amazing area. And then this friend of mine told me, "Well, why don't you, go to this place, Efri-Úlfsstaðir, and visit the farmer? He might be interested to sell his farm." This is on Sunday, so we go to this farmer. He shows us the farm. We go around there. He drives us around the property. On Monday, I make him an offer. On Thursday, I have bought the farm. At that time, I had no idea what on earth I was going to do with the second farm. It was a deep intuition sort of calling from me that I wanted to have a place that would be sort of for my students, for my horses, where we could sort of, make this into a good place. A good place for good people. I just moved there a couple of months later, and spent about 6 months just working there by myself. The house was very old, repairing the stables, etc., etc. All the work that needed to be done. It's obviously an ongoing process, but it took me 2-3 years just to make it. As I wanted to have it, and I'm still sort of not quite sure sort of where this path is taking me. It's really been a part of my life path is what is going to happen at Efri-Úlfsstaðir. I'm there, I'm working, I'm making it beautiful. There are beautiful people coming towards me, coming to my classes, to my retreats. They're riding my horses. And now we are even started last year as the first farmer ever to grow garlic in Iceland. And that is also part of my journey, is that how magnificent Mother Earth is. I mean, here we are on the rock in the middle of the Atlantic. It's windy, it's snowy, it's stormy, but it's so powerful. So part of this journey, along with the horses, is also seeing sort of how, what can Mother Earth supply us with in all this universe? How forceful and magnificent it is. I think we are just touching the surface of what Mother Earth can do with us. And I think one of the reasons I'm growing garlic is just to make a point. Is that, listen, if we can grow garlic in Iceland, we can do anything in Iceland.
I like that. I like that kind of, it's a testament to what can be done. And that's really powerful. I love how much you love Iceland, your country, and the power of it, the natural beauty, the wildness. Could you tell our listeners more about Iceland, or more about why you love it so much? I know probably a lot of my listeners would love to visit one day and would love to hear more.
First of all, I mean, Iceland is quite a big country with only 350,000 inhabitants. It's about 4 times the size of Denmark. So it's a big country with few people, a lot of space, a lot of nature. I love the weathers. I love good weather, obviously, but I also love the storms, the snow, the rain, all of this. I mean, this is all part of it, and the Icelandic nature, it keeps you alert. You always have to be, aware of the forces of nature, and now, and now even with the volcanoes and earthquakes and everything, it keeps us every single day. You're reminded of who is in control, and it's definitely not the humans; it's nature. Why Iceland has become so popular in the recent years is that people are getting more humble towards nature with global warming and everything, and I think people come to Iceland, and it's really a place to experience nature in its full scale. It's not like when you go to to the Mediterranean or to the jungle, which is obviously beautiful as well, but you have more of a scope of nature here in Iceland than you would have in most other places, I would say. And I think that's you're never bored. If you like nature in Iceland, I mean, you're definitely never bored. That's for sure.
I think that's something that so many people around the world are craving, as you mentioned, the connection to nature, but also the stillness and the quiet. With our fast-paced, busy lives, with all of this noise and stimulus and billboards and sirens and honking and even dog barking, all of these sounds, I think that there's this amazing attractiveness, this calling towards silence and stillness. And I feel like Iceland also embodies that for a lot of people. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also in this like now with the epidemic, with the COVID epidemic, that people are a lot of people are rethinking their lives as well. Is this my path? What do I want to work in a bank or be a nurse, or what is my path? Where should I, what should I do with my life? To come to Iceland and exactly like you're saying, be rid of the noise for a week or two, and just be here with the nature, and be with the scariest person of them all. Be with yourself, and what do I really want? In my experience with my guests that are coming, they this question is kind of forced upon you when you are with yourself here in Iceland, in the quietness, in the solitude. Who am I? Where do I want to go? And then, you look at your life and what do I want to do with it? How can I make it better? Or or do I want a complete change, or what have you? I think with the mindfulness, with the horses and with this vastity of Icelandic nature, like on our beach there, the Black Beach, where you're completely by yourself. There's nobody. It's huge. There's it's inevitable to ask these questions.
And I imagine that's something that on the retreats that you lead, maybe you're trying to guide some of the guests as well to some of these kind of more internal questioning and self-reflection through meditation, mindfulness, and yoga. Is that kind of the case? Or do you want to just talk to us more about what to expect, what to expect in the retreats?
Yeah, that exactly. And well, let's put it this way: it's definitely always a question that comes up. It's not a question that I forced upon on the group and I say, okay, now we should talk about the lives and what do we want to do? No, I think it's also because it's so different than most of my guests our experiences, coming from the south of the states or whatever. It's so different from their reality living here in Iceland and in this solitude and in this harsh nature, that you're forced to at least compare your life. Okay, wow, this is how Hörður is living, and this is how I am living. And am I happy with this, or is this something that? But maybe is this something that can inspire me in making the changes I want to do? Because it's one of the biggest things the main factor in doing what we want to do with our life is the courage, and that's what most people are missing. Is they think they don't have the ability or the money or the job or whatever to make the changes to their life they want to make. But I would say in all cases, it's only courage that's lacking. Being by yourself in isolation up in Iceland gives you a perspective of maybe it doesn't give you the courage, but at least gives you this perspective of, how bad can it really go? I mean, why don't I make the changes I want to make? How bad can it be? Because you are so small, and that's also part of what Iceland shows you, is that you are such a tiny, tiny little piece of the universe that, even if you would make the most drastic changes in your life, how bad is it going to be? And in most cases, no, it's not that bad. You can make the changes.
Yeah, I think having that place and space for rethinking, and when you get to look out at the beaches and the mountains and the ocean, and you get all of this natural beauty, it really reinforces that, I'm just a tiny piece of this little intricate puzzle.
Exactly. And then sort of, if I, how bad can it be? It's not like, I'm not going to change the universe but I'm going to change my universe, definitely. And I think that is sort of, when you put this in perspective, that might give you the courage of doing the things that you really want to do, or make the changes that you really want to change about yourself, about your circumstances, or what have you.
So when someone comes on a retreat with you, what can they expect? What's the program like?
Well, the program it's normally like this. I mean, people arrive on the farm, and we do the sort of the meet and greet. We always do a breathing exercises, a circle, a circle of trust, where we start, maybe light a little fire and tell a little bit about ourselves, do some breathing exercises. And then basically what I do is that, I do a little lesson of sort of how I approach the horses, sort of, and sensing the energy of the horse, etc. And then you get your partner, and your partner is a horse, and that is pretty much your assignment. I mean, you will take care of him for the next couple of days, both in the stable and then exercising him, etc. You can do whatever. You can take him for a walk. You can take him for a ride. We obviously do some riding tours together, right down to the Black Beach or along the river or what have you. And then in between, we are doing our circles. We are reflecting. It's a place for good people to come, and it's a place where people, hopefully. And I think so. In most of the cases, get a bit different perspective on life.
Beautiful. And when does the yoga practices come in? Whether it's meditation or asana practice?
It depends on like everything else in Iceland. It depends on the weather. I mean, if the weather is good, we go out. We do yoga outside. We do breathing exercises. We have 4 active volcanoes and a glacier in our backyard. So we are surrounded by extremely forceful, also powerful areas just next to us. So that's always a preferred thing to do, is to start the day with breathing or yoga surrounded by the mountains outside. If not, if the weather is challenging, we go into the stables. I have a small riding hall, and we do our exercises there. And that really depends on the group. There's a lot of yogis that come to the retreat, obviously. I tend to lead the meditation, the grounding part, but then it's really sort of up to the group, what kind of yoga they want to do, if they want to do yoga, and then what kind of yoga. And we place it in sort of when we have time. We don't have any clock on the retreat. I mean, there's no 9 o'clock we have yoga and 11 o'clock we do horses. It's not like this. We wake up when we wake up, we do yoga when we want to do yoga, and we go riding when we want to go riding. beauty about, especially in summertime in Iceland, we have the midnight sun. So, you can, there's no nighttime. Then we have the river. We bathe in the river. I have a sauna as well in the stables. We do a sauna. So it's sort of, it's a fusion. I don't have any schedule. And I know that some, especially European guests, they get a little frustrated that I don't have a schedule for my guests, but that's not what it's about. I don't even have a clock in the house.
I respect that so much. Wow. Oh, that's amazing. And I think that's part of what you're teaching as well, and what you're talking about, and part of what you're trying to convey is slow down, listen, be present, and respond accordingly.
Yeah, I can say, the story is this, like most of the retreats, when people have arrived, they've been on a flight and they've been sort of on the clock for 12 hours or what have you. They arrive on the farm, they're so tense. Because they've been on the clock and they've been sort of driving, and finally they're there, and then and when do we start? When are we starting? What's next? And it takes them, a couple of hours just to sort of, first of all, just stop asking. We just do it when we feel like it. People get it, and just naturally calm down, and then once you calm down, then and only then you're ready to meet the horses.
Yeah, I imagine they would be pretty sensitive to all of that tension and kind of anxiety and stress.
They read you immediately. My horses, I was up feeding the horses this morning, and they read my temperament, my sense, my energy every single day. They know exactly how I am, sort of what my mood is and where I'm at every time. And same thing goes with the guest. I mean, if I bring a nervous rider or a rider that's afraid or what have you, they act completely differently around them. Same horse, around a nervous person or experienced person or what have you. They read you. They're so good at it.
That's probably a good encouragement to try to also keep your energy calm and still, and be more mindful and slow and present. Because if you're more frenzied or you're showing that, then they'll respond to it, and you don't want to affect them like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because if I'm tense and I'm going riding and I'm doing asking the horse to do something, and I get frustrated or something like this, then it's not working. But as soon as I calm myself down and then sort of listen to the horse and then negotiate with them, things work perfectly, always.
If only we were that considerate of the humans in our lives.
Oh, wouldn't it? Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me for this beautiful conversation. I know my listeners will be curious about where they can find you online and connect with you. Could you, I'll share, of course, your links in the show notes below and on my website, wildyogatribe.com, but can you just let people know where to go looking for?
Yeah, well, it's I have a webpage, mriceland.is. And then I'm on Instagram as well as Mr. Iceland. Take a look at the pictures and sense the energy we got there, and would love to have some more people coming this summer. Obviously, last couple of years where we didn't almost have any foreigners, but it really didn't matter for my farm because we filled every single retreat with Icelanders instead, and so we actually and that was quite different than bringing the foreigners, having the Icelanders at the retreats. And then I haven't put out any dates yet for the summer, but if you guys have a request, we are always open for setting up retreats as well. But we are doing riding tours here most of the day, so stay in touch. Feel free.
And what's your capacity for each retreat? How many people usually join you or are able to?
6 to 10 people is perfect. Somewhere there, a little bit depending on the group. If they're sort of not sort of beginner horse riding, then no more than 8. If there are experienced riders, then 10 people. But we try to keep it small.
Perfect. And just last quick question. Tell me the story of the name of your farm.
Efri-Úlfsstaðir, it means Efri is higher, and Úlfsstaðir, it means the place of the wolves. Well, to go sort of real deep, and this is an old name, and you go figure this out, because 2 years ago I looked at some of my previous lives, and there was this lady who sort of exposed some of them, and in one of the lives my name was Wolf. So I'll leave it to listeners to figure that one out.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. So thank you again so much, Hordur, for joining me today on this episode. It's been a joy to be with you.
Yeah, well, same here. Wonderful. And you obviously are very welcome to visit the farm next time you're in Iceland, or if you're ever in Iceland.
My conversation with Hörður Bender, a yoga teacher from Iceland, was so grounding as he talked about the powerful connection of horses and how his horses teach him mindfulness. Hordur shared his love of Iceland with us, the wild and natural beauty, and how the lack of noise helps to keep his inner world still. As a garlic farmer, a horse whisperer, and a yoga teacher, Hörður Bender is a man who lives what he teaches. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Wild Yoga Tribe podcast. Be well. Thank you for being on this journey with me. It has been a privilege to be with you. I know that your time is precious, and I am both humbled and honored that you chose to spend your time with me here on the Wild Yoga Tribe podcast. As you are on your own inner journey, remember that you are not alone. There are so many of us on this path to awakening, this path of self-discovery and expansion, and we are right here alongside you. Remember to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you feel called, please share this episode with someone that you think could benefit from it. Leaving a review would also be so appreciated. If you're on social media, I am there too at the Wild Yoga Tribe. You can tap into all the amazing resources on my website, thewildyogatribe.com, and you can meditate with me on Insight Timer and get your flow on with me on my YouTube channel, where I've recorded free yoga classes. If you would like to schedule a private yoga or meditation class with me or a coaching session, you can find the link to do so to book in the show notes or on my website. Again, thewildyogatribe.com. Thank you once again, dear listener, for being with me. May your day be light and bright. May you be peaceful and happy and led on the right path, free of suffering and free of sorrow. Be well, dear one. Be well.